Hi, my name is Kerry Clark. I'm a researcher and professor at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville, and I'm going to be filming a series of segments of my doing some field work here in Georgia over the next couple of days. My research is focused on ticks and tick-borne diseases. I've been studying these things for over 15 years, and what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of days is filming myself doing some tick collecting in a neighborhood area in Fayetteville, Georgia. And over these segments I'll explain why I'm here and what I'm doing and why I'm doing this sort of thing. But I wanted to just provide some video clips of what it's like to do this type of research, what types of things that we're finding in this area, and give people a little better idea of how it goes. Now, I've been studying ticks and tick-borne diseases, as I said, for quite a few years, and my interest in that stems just from general interest going back to when I was a young boy growing up in Kentucky, and a love for wildlife and nature, and then I developed an interest in human health, and somehow these two interests meshed. And so I began to study diseases that we call zoonotic diseases, diseases that you can acquire from contact with wildlife in various ways, and specifically in tick-borne diseases. And my primary focus is in Lyme disease, but also some associated diseases. Now, you may be asking, why am I up in Georgia if I actually work and everything down in Florida? Well, I was contacted a few years ago by a resident in this area who became aware of several different cases of Lyme disease and Lyme-like illness and some other tick-borne diseases in her neighborhood, and she also documented many cases in the surrounding neighborhoods and area of Georgia, and asked me if I was interested and willing to come up and see what's going on here. So I did. And so the first time I came up here was in June of 2010, and I came up because I was generally interested in some of the information she was giving me about the abundance of ticks here and the abundance of different types of wildlife and that sort of thing. So one of the things that I remember her telling me was about the number of deer in her neighborhood and how abundant they were and how they were bedding in their yards at night and that sort of thing. I thought that was pretty interesting. She was telling me about the abundance of rabbits and other animals as well. And so when I drove up here the very first time, I remember when I pulled into her driveway, the first thing I saw was a rabbit that ran across her driveway, and I said, I guess what she said about the rabbits is true. And over the next couple of days of doing my field work, I saw several deer in different people's property and realized that what she was telling me about the deer abundance was also true, but what was most striking was the abundance of ticks in this area. And I've only collected ticks here during a small portion of the year in the spring and summer, but the abundance of one particular species, the Lone Star tick, is incredible here. So I've been doing some tick collecting in the last few years, and studying these ticks, testing these ticks for some different tick-borne disease organisms, and I'll talk about that probably in some of the other segments and some of my own experiences. So this is just an introductory segment. I will be showing how we go about collecting ticks and some of the things that we're finding in the area. I just wanted to generally give you some idea of what we're talking about when I say I'm in a neighborhood area here. I'll swing the camera around and show you and talk about some of these places. We're not talking about being out in an extremely rural area. This is a very semi-rural, suburban type of area. And let me just switch this around here and just show you. These are just some shots of sort of this neighborhood looking down the street, trying to avoid any identifying information of any addresses and vehicles and that sort of thing. But for example, you can see this nice large house and nice property across the street here. Very nice large mature trees. So when they built these neighborhoods, they left a lot of the natural vegetation. But these are very nice properties. Very, very nice, large lots, and there's a lot of mature trees and vegetation. You can see birds here. There's a little bird just flew down onto the ground from this tree. You can see it getting ready to hop back up onto that tree there, I think. And it's a beautiful habitat. I mean, there are many areas throughout the southeastern United States that I'm sure look very much like this. Lots of other properties like this, and perhaps they have a similar ecology. And there is abundant wildlife here, and there's also lots of ticks, as I'll try to document later. And when I say that there's lots of ticks, I mean, sure, if I go back into those woods like you see right there next to this property, I'll get ticks, but I can also pick up ticks right here in these manicured lawns and in these planting beds that you see here that are mostly mostly pine straw as the substrate. And so we don't have to go far. So people in this neighborhood, what I found is they're coming into contact with ticks just from walking their dogs in their own yard, doing their own yard work, even going to the mailbox and that sort of thing. So here's a little shot of just kind of up the street here, some of the other properties. And this is the particular residence where I am right now, where I have permission to do some field work. I'm just going to walk up this way, up the driveway. That's my truck right there, parked there, getting ready to go back into this backyard area and collect some ticks. You can see here, there's trees along the edge of the property here. There's some sort of woodpecker you can hear in the background. And there's a large backyard here, partially shaded different times of the day. Again, you've got the mature trees, lots of woods back in the background here, and there's a lot of squirrels, as I said, rabbits and deer, lots and lots of birds. You can hear all kinds of birds out here right now, and chipmunks, and you know, lots of small mammals. There's also lizards, different types of skinks, and so forth. And so anyway, I'm just going to document what I'm finding here. I think some people will find that very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and end this segment, this introductory segment, and then I'll get back to showing you what I'm finding here in a few minutes.